Hello everyone, Runaway Renee here. I wanted to give you an update. Today I finally sent in all my paperwork to my new employer, so that's very exciting. I wanted to give you a quick recap because sometimes I tried to watch videos, I did searches all over. I get a lot of conflicting information. Of course, regulations in China change all the time. Keep that in mind, but I couldn't really find a comprehensive listing of everything that you had to submit to your employer, basically everything that you need to get ready. So some of this stuff you can get ready in advance, and you should do so if you're looking for a position right now in China. Okay, so here goes. Right now, just so you guys know, I'm drinking a glass of celebratory Welch's sparkling grape juice. That's what I do midday. That's how I like to party. But anyway, so here's the list. You will need a scan of your passport. If you don't have a passport, please go get one now. You do not want to be waiting on your passport when you go to apply for positions. And most of the positions that you will apply to anywhere will require you to include your passport as part of your initial application. So if you're at this stage, you probably already have that. But if you don't, go get a passport. Number two, they will require a resume. My resume, because I've done a lot of consulting work and I've done a lot of full-time work, is really, and especially my ESL resume is even different than my normal proposal manager resume. I have it split up into my full-time positions and my proposal contracting positions, and I also obviously don't include things like modeling or personal training that I did when I was much younger. So there appears to be a gap about a decade ago on my resume. So the resume that they're looking for, you will have to break it out into when, where, so you're going to provide a city and state location for each of those jobs, and say job title, include your job title, and then include your employer, and then list the employer. So really call it out. Remember that the person evaluating your resume for your visa may not have English as their first language, so make it easy for them. Format your resume very clearly so they can validate your ability to work within China. So make sure that you revise your resume to be clearly chronological and to have no gaps. If you have a gap, address it. Include a paragraph in chronological order of what you were doing during that time, even if it was traveling or if you were studying something or if you were doing private consulting, as I sometimes have in my career. That's important. Okay, so make sure you include your resume. On that resume, I go by Renee. That is not my legal name. That's actually part of my first name. So make sure that you have your legal name across the top that matches up with your passport. I include a photo on mine, so it also matches up with my passport. And you'll also want to list your home address, your permanent address in the United States or wherever else you may live, and then your phone number. That was also part of what was requested. So update your resume to include all that. Make sure you include any degrees that you have, and of course your CELTA certification. If you don't have a CELTA certification, it helps to provide, if you don't have a CELTA or a TEFL that's at least 120 hours, it helps to provide 2 reference letters from your most recent employers, particularly if you have been teaching. So if you've been teaching for 2 years, make sure you include those reference letters as part of your resume submission as well. Number 3, your degree verification. So that is this document. Let me pull this out for you guys. Ooh. It looks like this in the state of Florida. They look different elsewhere. You can do a Google search to see what yours should look like. In the state of Florida, the only degree verification that exists is the basically you take a copy of your degree, a Xerox copy, to a notary. I use my bank because they have notaries on staff all the time. It's if you have a different notary, you can go there, but I tend to go to my bank when I need a notary. So they will, this was a little bit tricky, it took us a while to figure this out, but what they will do is they will include, this is a copy of, they're all stapled together, never remove the staple. This is an attestation of a certified copy. So basically this language just says that this is an unaltered copy that was presented to the notary, and it states my degree type, my name, and then she notarized this letter. So this is what I sent, along with, she stapled it to a copy of what she was notarizing as an, that she was attesting that was an authentic copy. So this is a copy of my degree. And then she stapled it to this little paragraph here that says that this is a copy of the same thing. So when you go to your notary, make sure you bring your actual document as well. So I Xerox mine ahead of time, so it's easier for them, but you can always bring it and have them Xerox it, or bring a copy so they can make sure that it is what they're saying it is. You'll then send this off to your Department of State. So in Florida, I sent this to the Division of Corporations. It will be wherever your state apostilles things or provides certified copies of documents that can't otherwise be verified, like birth certificates or something like that. So if you look up apostille, that will usually help you find where this goes. You don't actually need an apostille for China, you just need an authentication, so that's what this is. So in my state, it's the state of Florida, it's from the Department of State. They basically verify that my notary is actually a notary. They're saying, yes, this person is a notary, so yes, I do trust that they verified this copy of my degree. Pretty straightforward. It sounds wonky. Why would that serve as authentication? You don't know if I actually got this degree, you didn't call my university, you didn't look at my transcripts, but okay, this is how it works. Okay, so you need to send, so scan images of the letter from your state as well as the authentication statement, and include, of course, a scanned copy of your degree. Okay, after that, you will want to provide a copy of your CELTA or your TEFL certificate. Right now in China, they are putting this on lockdown. So if you're getting an actual authentic work visa to work in China, you most likely will need to provide your CELTA or your TEFL or a teaching certification. So scan a copy and include it. If you did do something crazy like go online and do like a Groupon TEFL, make sure that the copy that you're providing says it's at least 120 hours or doesn't say something to the contrary, or make sure also that it doesn't say online on it, because that's basically, they'll think you got it out of a Cracker Jack box, which you may or may not have, but make sure that it does not say online. If your company did provide one that says like 60 hours or it says online on it, you may be able to contact the company and have them provide you with a version of your certificate that does not include those negating details. Okay. After that, you'll want to provide a digital passport photo. This is just a headshot on a blank white background, and you can even trim this in paint. I know that sounds a little bit hood, but you can do it that way. I'm not like a graphic designer or something, so what I did is I just took a headshot with a white background, and then within paint you can crop it. You'll want to crop it. The dimensions they need are 3.5 by 4.5 centimeters, so you'll need to include a copy of that. That's because they're going to print that locally, and that they're going to use that photo in the documents that they issue to you, so you do need to include that to your employer. If you look at, you can resize it, like I said, even within paint. The pixels are 128 by 99. That's the pixel dimensions if you're just using the little select tool. But give them a 3.5 by 4.5 centimeter passport photo digitally. Just so you know, I'm pretty sure these are not the same size as US passport photos, so just be aware of that. Okay, after that, you will need to provide a release letter from your most recent employer in China. I have never worked in China. That's not applicable to me. If you've been working in China, you will need a release letter from your most recent employer. Number 7, you'll need to provide them with information as to what is your local Chinese consulate. This is not what you think it is. So for me, the easiest place for me to go would be Washington, D.C., because I have a lot of business there. I can go easily to D.C. This is not my consulate, so make sure you look up on the internet based upon where you live where your consulate is. If you live in Florida, your consulate is actually in Houston, Texas. That makes no sense to me, but that's my local consulate. So what you'll do is you'll provide them with your current address again, provide that again, and then you'll also want to provide them with your cell phone number and list your local consulate, Chinese consulate. And certain consulates service certain regions, so you need to look that up and know where your consulate is. Your background check is the next step. So in addition to things that you have to send off for, like your apostilled or certified copy of your degree, you'll also, I've got a lot of paperwork here, you'll also send off to your Department of Law Enforcement for a certified background check. So you can see here, this has some of my personal information in it, so I'm not going to will ask the world to you guys, but it'll come back. Mine took about a week from the state of Florida. I think this cost me about $20 or so. You have to send off for this. It does take some time, so that's one of those things that you really should prep in advance. And what will come back will basically say that it'll list your information that you provide on your form to your state, and it will say that they'll provide a certified stamp, basically from the Department of State and from the Department of Law Enforcement in your state, and they will say that it'll confirm that you don't have a criminal background, unless of course you do, in which case good luck to you. But depending on where you work, sometimes they may ask you for a federal background check. In Ohio, when I lived there before, I did a BCI background check, which is at the federal level. So if your employer does request a federal FBI background check, you may need to look at the steps to do that through your state. The information for that should be in the same place on your state's website, where you would also apply for a state level background check. So after you have attached your background check, you'll need to include your medical exam. Let me open my medical exam here. Okay, the medical exam is pretty hardcore, so definitely get this out of the way as soon as you know you're going to be going to China. So not necessarily once you know that you will be going to a certain employer, but once you have a date when you say, you know what, I'm going to go 3 months from now, get your medical exam done. You want to be able to give this to your employer as soon as they make the offer. You want to be able to have this package ready. It makes you look like a much more capable and professional candidate, and additionally it saves a lot of time on visa processing, which there are a lot of steps, so it does take time. This medical exam is called a physical examination record for a foreigner. I'll put a link right there so you can see where to find this. There are a lot of things on this exam. Mine took a few hours. I thought it would take about a half an hour. No, it takes a few hours. So set aside at least a half day for this in your doctor's office. It is going to take some time. So they take a bunch of blood. They took like 4 or 5 vials of blood. They bruised me to death. I don't know if you guys can see that. It was terrible. But they're testing for things that you might not think they're testing for. They're looking for syphilis and HIV, and they're looking for lots of stuff that they don't want brought into China. So they'll obviously ask you if you've had a lot of things that really aren't typical in the United States, like typhus fever, diphtheria, scarlet fever, viral hepatitis, things I can't pronounce. They're checking to see if you have any of these viruses. They don't want to bring them in, so you can self-assert all of those, and you'll see on the form. But other things that they look for, they will check your vision, including your uncorrected and corrected vision. So even though you're at your doctor's office, make sure you bring a contact lens case if you are like me and you're blind as a bat. So I didn't know that they would be doing that, and they requested I take out my contacts. Of course, I wasn't going to pass with or without my contacts, with my contacts, but not without them. So they ultimately decided they would not make me take out my contact lenses, but they may make you take out your contact lenses. If you're a woman, wear loose-fitting clothing and wear a sports bra with no wire in it, because they do require an EKG and a chest x-ray, and it's just going to be a lot of shuffling and yada yada yada. It's not worth it. So sports bra, loose-fitting clothing, that'll help you get through the medical exam a little bit faster. They'll check your ears, nose, blah, blah, blah. Same things they would normally check in a physical. And a lot of times for that chest x-ray, they will send you out to another imaging facility. Maybe your doctor has one in office, maybe they don't, but they have to do that chest x-ray. They'll be looking at your EKG as well. It's just, they just hook up some monitors and then listen to your heart rate and make sure that everything looks normal. And then, of course, all those laboratory exams, and they also do a urine test. That's pretty much it. So it does take a while. Okay, there's another trick to this. There is a comment box at the bottom that says suggestion. If you want this to easily go through your visa process, easily go through the embassy in China, you want these words. I'm going to put them over here. Oh, over here. In that suggestion box. They should say, your name is healthy and fit to work in China under the laws of the People's Republic of China. If it says this, it will greatly help your medical exam go through in the embassy in China. So make sure you have that lingo on there. Then your doctor will stamp it and sign off on it. And that's your medical exam. My doctor also included copies of my blood work and really restated on each one of those things if something was reactive or not reactive, that it was negative and that everything was within normal limits, and provided attestation from the person who evaluated my chest x-ray, all of that stuff. So if you have additional information that your doctor can include that you think will help you really make sure your medical exam gets through, I would do it. From what I hear, no matter what you do, no matter how healthy you are, no matter what kind of records you provide, you will be redoing this exam when you arrive in China. So you'll get to be stabbed and poked and prodded and pricked at again. It's going to be great. So don't be surprised about that. But what you're trying to do now is trying to get that visa stamp in your passport. That's your goal. So just focus on what's happening right now. That medical exam will, you'll attach that, scan anything that they give you as part of that, attach that as a file. If you are bringing a dependent, like if you have a husband or a child, make sure you include a copy of your marriage certificate. You'll include digital passport photos for any of your dependents that you're bringing. If you have children, instead of a marriage certificate, you'll provide a birth certificate, obviously, and then scans of their passports. If you've ever worked in China in the past 2 years, you'll need to provide an original reference letter and work permit cancellation letter from the Chinese company that you worked for. So again, I've never worked in China, but if you did, you will need, in the last 2 years, so if it's expired more than 2 years, you don't need this. But if you have, you'll need an original reference letter, a work permit cancellation letter. You will also need that. So from the Chinese company that you worked for in the past. Hopefully you already have that. If you have done that, if you have worked in China in the past, if you took a 1-year lapse and you thought you didn't need it, you may need to get in touch with them. Make sure you have that now before you have to get the ball rolling with your future employer. If you've never worked in China, forget about it, no problem. The last thing that you need to do is reiterate to them one more time make sure that your complete address and your phone number are listed once more. Again, the person at your company that does your visa paperwork may not be an English speaker. So when you lay this out for them, I highly recommend, even if they don't ask for all of these things, include all of these things, because if you're working for a smaller company, maybe they're not quite sure of everything they're going to need. In Thailand, I faced that a little bit more, where they really weren't sure of what was needed to apply for my visa. So that was a very interesting time in my life. But I will say this, so label them. Number 1, passport scan. Number 2, resume. Number 3, scanned degree and verification. Number 4, CELTA or TEFL. Number 5, digital passport photo. Number 6, release letter from your most recent employer. Number 7, your consulate or embassy where you'll be applying for your Z visa. Number 8, a recent criminal background check. Number 9, the medical check report. Number 10, any dependents that are moving with you to China, make sure you include. Number 10 is the birth certificate or marriage certificate of the dependent. 11 is their digital passport photos. And number 12 is passport scans for your dependents. Number 13, a reiteration of your full address and phone number within the United States. And number 14, if you've worked in China in the last 2 years, provide original reference letters and work permit cancellations. Okay, that's what you should be sending off to your employer. Did you know you needed all of that? And if you can send this to them in one bulk package, I feel like it really gets it off to them and you feel like, whew, okay, I'm ready to go. There are more steps in this, but this is what you'll need initially for your company to get your paperwork rolling on their side in China. You're not done yet. Eventually some things are going to come in the mail and you're going to mail some things off to the consulate or attend in person to the consulate, but I will put up a separate video about that. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any additional questions about the documents I just put up or other steps that I've done so far or things that you're not sure how they work in the future, feel free to put a comment in the comments box and I'll help you if I can. Thank you. Have a good day. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.